Welcome to Sunday World Engage Politics, a platform where we engage politicians and public officials of interest. And today we are coming to you from Lutuli House on Pixley Gasem Street. One comrade of our guest today once called it a revolutionary house. We don't know if it still is a revolutionary house. Today we are honored to host the Secretary General of the African National Congress, Mr. Fira Malula. SG, how are you?
No, thank you, Mawande, and welcome to the Lutuli House.
Is it still revolutionary?
Nothing has changed. It is a revolutionary house of the African National Congress.
And how far, SG, is the National Democratic Revolution that the ANC likes speaking about, that it pursues through its role in government?
The National Democratic Revolution has just suffered a significant setback.
Yeah.
We characterize this as a significant setback politically, because what it means to us is that we have not been booted out of power. We have been allowed to still participate in a significant way, albeit with a reduced majority. So we view that in serious light, in the sense that to us that reduction is significant, but it equally means also we are on the verge of losing power. So the NDR has been seriously battered and has suffered a setback. To an extent of the miles and the kilometers is at. It will be measured by how we are going to not only interpret but react to this moment.
And in terms of where you stand, SG, as someone who is in the engine room of the ANC, in fact, probably let's start it from where you started in 2022. I think it would be unfair to blame you from 2019. You joined the party midway, at least to these elections. How would you rate your own performance in this very difficult role? In fact, I like saying being an ANC SG is the most powerful political office outside government in the whole of the African continent. I know it's debatable, but I have my own reasons to say so. So you are in the coalface of all these differing views, ANC being a broad church, having all sorts of characters, having all sorts of interests competing within the ANC. How would you rate yourself since 2022 in the 2 years while you are going for your second year in December?
It's difficult for a person to rate himself in this instance, because we are given a time frame which is 5 years. 5 years since we were elected will determine our performance in this particular position. And that performance will be against what we have set for ourselves. We came in, and the biggest political program that defines the success of any party is an election. So in terms of this election, the ANC did not perform very well. And like I said, we characterize this as a setback, but the overall performance, because at the end, there are many things that Congress have actually given us a mandate to execute with the collective. As to how I perform within the collective to steer it in the right direction, working with everyone to realize the objectives, I think to me it's still early days. 1 year, 6-8 months since the last election. So we have not even reached our halfway mark, which will be the General Council. We had to come in, hit the ground running, fight an election to win, which we have lost. And then we had to secure power, which was what we have done. We have secured power. So what we do about this is going to be important going forward.
And you came in, SG, at a time where several structures of the ANC Women's League, ANC Youth League, several provinces and regions didn't have elected structures, and you moved very much with speed, even if I have to compliment you on that one. You moved with serious speed in that regard. How would you rate the performance of ANC provinces, since all of them now have elected structures?
We still have got a long way to go.
Yeah.
From where the ANC was 10, 15 years ago, we've got a new cadre of the ANC leading structures. A lot of experience is required, but political education. We are faced with the biggest enemy as the party of ideological inadequacy and grounding for most of our members. But the core cadreship of the party in terms of ideological grounding and politicization in the politics of the ANC. The mass will follow, but those who constitute the core group of leadership must be highly politicized, and those you call the advanced cadreship, which is the core group in the leadership structures, must be politically and ideologically sharp. We are faced with that challenge and the weak structures. We create structures for conferences. It's easy to gather 4,000 people in Nazareth to elect leadership. It's a difficult one to make that 4,000 to breathe life to society, which is through a branch. So our branches are weak. They are cyclical, they exist for elections, they exist for conferences. We need a branch that will breathe life to society in terms of leading on issues that affect the people on the ground. Can be sewer, all of those things. The ANC structure must be at the center of leading ward committees, breathing life to society, and so on. So that is the work conference have given us to perform.
Yeah.
We have had to model the organization to prepare it for an election, which is one single most important political activity, which has now come to pass. We now have got to build on that and build structures of the ANC going forward. So to me, the branch is key for the life of the ANC.
But those branches don't lead themselves. Maybe sticking to this topic, SG, I want to focus particularly on provinces for obvious reasons. That those structures, before it comes to you, they are led by regions and then they are led by provinces. Let's probably look at individual provinces. KwaZulu-Natal, that's where you suffered the most devastating electoral misfortunes in the previous elections. Do you blame the provincial leadership, which has faced criticism, harshly so, before the elections about how adequate or inadequate they were, how suitable they were for the positions? From where you stand, is the criticism against the provincial leadership of KwaZulu-Natal fair?
When you look at KwaZulu-Natal and you compare it with other provinces, you will realize that we've got a cadreship of the ANC that have come into leadership positions from the ranks of the Youth League. And it needs a lot of nurturing and support politically. And easy solutions like disbandment and the blame game are for people who don't have a clearer understanding of what it takes to build an organization. It has taken a knock for many revolutions around the world to come back. The challenge for the ANC at the present moment, do we have the stamina, the leadership, ideological clarity first about what happened, and theoretical analysis, and then do we have a program of action to lead the masses to come back? That's how that leadership of KZN is going to be judged. Having gone through a crucial and cruel battering of the process of the elections. How individuals fill in that puzzle is going to be important. But we're building leadership and structures for the future. And how KZN is going to come out of that situation for me is what will prove the mantle of those comrades as leadership. The quick fix solution, which has always been there in the works, 2 weeks after the conference, 3 weeks after the conference, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, and all of that, there have been people who are calling for that leadership to go, both within our ranks and partly outside. There's no leadership that is perfect in many ways, but leadership learns from mistakes. And in this instance, the learning must be quicker. And you may find, like they say, throwing a good love away, you might not know it now, you'll know it someday. Even if you were to adapt that to a personal relationship in terms of love relations, you nurture relations, you work on them. Even in the organization, it is like that. You need to nurture people and then guide them and make it a point that you're always there with them, even in difficult times. If when you are faced with difficulties, you think, "Ngochitha," you are in a family, you feel difficulties in your family, you think of divorce. You won't have family. Every household has got its own challenges. The ANC is faced with a difficult period, especially in KwaZulu-Natal,
Yes.
that probably none of the leadership that have come in the past have ever faced.
Yeah.
Enemy from within, opposition from within. Let me not use enemy, opposition from within. We always confronted an opposition in KwaZulu-Natal like IFP, which was from outside, and the DA to a certain extent. But this time around is from within. And you expect miracles and so on. It's a difficult thing to navigate that we've got to learn from and adapt and fight out of it and emerge victorious.
Eastern Cape, SG, well, it remains the dominant ANC province, but internally the ANC there itself is not without problems. I mean, recently the provincial secretary there, Mr. Mawande, resigned, then he didn't resign. What really happened there, maybe, if you could explain to us what happened with the provincial secretary?
You see, once we can overcome the inward looking out of this situation, is going to help us.
Yeah.
Mugatobi had his own reasons why he was resigning. He wanted to pursue his personal things and all of that. We have since advised him not to do it because he's an asset to the movement. Besides that, you don't dash from the responsibility for whatever reasons. But he felt that, look, I've delivered an election victory. I've participated within a collective that has delivered an election victory. It is time for me to call it quits and pursue other passion that I like and all of that. So we talk to each other and so on, and we equally prevailed on him not to do it, which is very important. This is not the time for resignations and inward looking. This is the time to prepare the movement as a whole, and the ANC in particular, to weather the storm of this setback.
Northwest, I'm picking particular provinces because there are certain issues. Northwest, there's a particular municipality. It generally has, Northwest has problems with its local government, where ANC comrades are fighting each other and all that. And recently, the epicenter of those problems has been the Matlosana municipality, which just elected a mayor, I think, last week, after a lot of infighting within ANC ranks. Did you resolve that situation of Matlosana? Is it stable now? Is it at a position where you can say this municipality will be run efficiently and effectively?
Northwest was a game changer for this 6 million number we got. Those comrades did very well with all the challenges that they faced. You would have expected that Northwest will be down there in the 30s, 40%, you know. They nearly got 60%. And tell me, is that not the reflection of hard work? In a province that is challenged heavily when it comes to leadership squabbles, you will never run short of squabbles.
Yeah.
In the Northwest, you are correct. Equally there, like KZN, you don't throw the baby with a bath tap and so on. Nono is leading that province after the premier did not do well in terms of health situation. Province that was disbanded, coming out of that disbandment, getting into a national conference conflicts, have to navigate through that, coming out of it bruised, but still mold the organization and marshal it together, that collective, to produce this result. It did not happen on its own. That outcome is because there are men and women and comrades who have led from the front to produce that result. So I'm quite excited about Northwest and the prospects of leadership goodwill going forward.
Yeah.
And I think we'll achieve that. They just need positive support and molding comrades, marshal them into line. There are people in Northwest who are forever disgruntled.
Yeah.
It's the permanent feature. Up until they get something, they will never be happy. Even if you can change the entire leadership and give it to the other group, it's just a roller coaster, in a sense. So you live with what we have that have produced important results for our organization. You build on that.
Yes, yes.
And that's what is important for that province.
Limpopo, SG, it's a, well, in terms of the electoral outcomes, it's always been one of those major contributors to the overall picture of the ANC results. But in terms of its own provincial problems, well, recently we now know that the VBS scandal is back in the public domain, and the ANC is somehow involved in terms of that scandal, and it just keeps on getting bigger and bigger for the ANC. In fact, it was even from the Termutau report in the beginning. Do you believe that the ANC has handled the VBS saga in terms of its own involvement in it well so far?
The ANC has handled the VBS very well. in terms of the outcome. There is a point in time where I believed that we could have done better. We started to argue back and forth when we were not supposed to. But since we went back to the drawing board, we took steps. And you can remember the issue of Denim Caesar. We went back and forth about it, Florence Ratzilana, up until the decision was taken, and the right decision, that comrades who are charged about VBS must step aside. And that's what has happened. And since then, things started to stabilize in the province. Started to stabilize in the province. We've got a new premier now. The chairperson has gone to national government as a deputy minister. So there is a leadership
Vacuum.
not vacuum, leadership vacancy,
Yes.
which can lead to all sorts of political machinations. We'll guard that situation closely because they've done well in terms of the election. The comrades of Limpopo, they've got a very energetic lady comrade, a woman, who's leading the province, who's just there all the time. They need to be supported. They need our support. The people of Limpopo want roads fixed. I see they are implementing important programs there. They call them the Khere Khere. And then by the Youth League, Tony, doing a great job. That's what we want. Not an absent leadership present. The people of Limpopo voted the ANC election in and out without fail. And in Popi and the collective and the ANC, we're looking forward to even heightened performance. And I believe that we will guard the situation of the stability of the ANC to ensure that the leadership vacancy does not lead to disunity and comrades dragging each other to the mud, and again doing what we call inward looking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when do you plan to regularize or fill in that vacancy actually to avoid those problems that you foresee as potential if that thing is allowed to go on for too long?
No, it will be. There is no challenge at the present moment because the former premier and the chairperson is still chairperson. And Brastan is not somebody at this time who's going to invest his time in terms of regional, provincial politics. I mean, he's a national leader now. He's in the national government. Of course, politically, in the ANC, ex officio is still participating, and his vacancy will be resolved by the conference.
Yeah.
So we think people like him must play a role in terms of guiding, nurturing comrades in the right direction in the province. Of course, there's nothing wrong with contest. The problem with contest is when it becomes ugly, and ugly in a sense that in political terms it is characterized as unhealthy contradiction. Mm-hmm. It should be a healthy contradiction that comrades can contest for a position, but not to an extent of killing each other politically and fighting each other to the ground. Because after the conference, you still have got to coexist in the same organization to lead. And that's what we expect. But we're quite excited now that that is not the focus in the province. Yeah. And there will never be an issue of two centers of power because the other one is up there as the current chairperson and the premier is in the province. So the working relationship there, I think, will be good going forward. Yeah. And at the present moment, we don't see any signs. Of course, if signs of contestation for the provincial leadership arise, equally that is not a challenge. The challenge then becomes when those contradictions degenerate to become unhealthy.
Yes. Before we move on from Limpopo SG, just to finish off on this point of VBS, in the so-called Matozi file now, the latest, he alleges that the ANC got 2 million through the then Treasurer General, Dr. Zweli Mkhize. Have you been, at least, and then he goes on to say, Dr. Zweli Mkhize provided an account of some comrade, I forgot the name of the person mentioned.
Joseph Nkadime.
Joseph Nkadime. Has the ANC been able to confirm that the money, because one of the big controversies about donations has been people who line up their own personal pockets using the name of the ANC. In this particular case, has the ANC been able to verify and confirm that indeed that 2 million reached its coffers?
I can assure you now that we are going to investigate that through a forensic. And then Comrade Zweli has given us a full account on that in terms of what happened. And I think to me and the Treasurer General, we've got no reason to doubt his bona fides. The ANC have taken a decision long time ago that if there were donations made to the ANC, we must refund them. So we need to get the feedback on that. How much was refunded to VBS? Because everything that happened there was corruption. So there's no justification whatsoever. It does happen that you get donations, but from wrong sources.
Yeah.
So once you have discovered that the money you got came from the wrong sources who are corrupt, you must return it back.
Yes.
Especially as a party. We took that decision, so we need to check on that. And these are the things this week the officials have mandated the TG to check on, and myself, and that's what we'll do. But at the end of the day, it doesn't cast aspersion on comrades. Comrade Zweli has given us an explanation.
What is his explanation?
Look, the explanation, he gives a full account of what actually happened. And I leave it up until a conclusive report is received on the matter.
But by saying you don't doubt his bona fides suggests that at least his explanation is believable.
No, bona fides of an individual, you don't start by doubting them to get to the point of the truth. So it means I voluntarily explain myself. So you don't deal with me with preconceived ideas that indeed what is said by Matozi, which is one side, could be the truth. Remember, even that affidavit is leaked. And then that affidavit, in terms of its local standing, in legal terms, it does not have standing because it has not been tested in a court of law. So if you do that, you're then subjecting people to a kangaroo court. Even all the chaps who are mentioned there, the facts are still to be proven in a court of law.
Yes.
So for our sake as the ANC, we've got to investigate, check, did we get this money? Investigation means, did the money reach the coffers of the ANC? If not, where did it go?
Yes.
And then the people who are mentioned there, are they still alive? What is their account? That's what the ANC will do for its own sake. But in relation to the local stand of that and its standing in the broader public discourse and standing of individuals, there's no basis to doubt Zweli's benefits on the basis of Matozi's report that has got no standing in terms of the legal standing in the courts of law, because what he says in that affidavit has not been tested in a court of law.
True. And then maybe
that is a fact.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
True. Just moving on this issue of provinces, ANC provinces, Mpumalanga, it was a very close call for the ANC to lose power in that particular aspect. Itself, the ANC there has had some rough times in the previous preceding months to the elections. I mean, I remember at some point there was an issue of an almost removal of the premier. There was that juggling between the two centers of power with the premier who was not the provincial chairperson. How do you view that to have contributed to the electoral outcome that was so close to being a defeat?
Mpumalanga, we've got to take a close look because we were close to defeat in a province that we dominated. But again, when you look at that defeat, our numbers were reduced and were shared to MK Party. I think we underestimated Zuma's strength in Mpumalanga and concentrated in KZN. That's the biggest challenge we had. Because if I'm not mistaken, MK Party is number 2 now.
Yes,
in the legislature.
There, yes.
Who could have thought about that in Mpumalanga? And we looked only into KZN. That indeed KZN were going to dip. There were 2 challenges there. It was Zuma, it was MK Party, and then it was Inkatha, Freedom Party. Who, in terms of the build-up to this election, they were wiping us out in the by-elections.
Yes.
So we knew that we've got a mountain to climb there, and then at best we will get 1.5 million or 1 million. To get 600 was magic, actually, in KZN.
Yes.
What we did not see coming was in Mpumalanga. And to the point where 50, yeah. So we knew at Free State, ACE is not a threat. Come hell or sunshine, it's not a threat because ACE did not do well for the people of the Free State when he was leading that province on behalf of the ANC. So ACE was not Zuma in the Free State. In the Free State, the issue you were going to have was the laxity of ANC structures and the local government service delivery challenges in the Free State and leadership squabbles at the regional level.
Yeah.
So those are inward things. Subjective weaknesses we knew are the ones which were going to do us harm in the Free State. And I think the comrades of the Free State also must be commended. They fought hard to get above 50%. You can see that even there, the challenge was the voters who did not come out.
Yes.
In their numbers, as it would have happened over and over again. Our people did not come out in numbers because of service delivery issues in terms of the Free State. So we did not do well.
And you've now created a new problem in the Free State of the 2 centers of power. How did that happen? In fact, why did you do that?
No, we did not create 2 centers of power. It does not mean that when you come for an interview, it is a guarantee that you'll become premier. So the product of the Free State is the outcome of the ANC processes. So the best candidate won the day. So this is not a political decision. The political decision would have meant that let's not create 2 centers of power, like you say, and then that's it and so on. But the panel, in terms of its mandate, which is the officials, had to look for the best candidate. And McQueen emerged in that particular instance. So all 7 of us appointed her as the premier of the Free State. It will not arise the issue of 2 centers of power in the Free State because Mxolisi is not a bitter person. Is very matured, and that is why then in terms of deployment, we deployed him to become the Speaker of the Legislature, which is a very important center of government. So he is deployed there. So in terms of what must happen in the province, where such arises, we'll have to deal with those going forward.
Western Cape, has the ANC given up on that province? It's just not happening.
No.
From election to election. Since losing it, there's simply no hope of ever.
We have not had a chance to look at Western Cape and decide on what we want to do there.
Yeah.
I think we're giving the DA a free ride in the Western Cape. And these comrades have just come also from a conference. They need to acclimatize and adapt. The ANC must become an opposition, effective opposition in the Western Cape. And truth be told, we have not been. We have not been an effective opposition. We are just giving the DA a free ride with all the mistakes they commit.
Yeah.
We have allowed them, we have given them a free roll. Western Cape is messed up by internal squabbles. Leadership of the regions, province, and all of that, that must be sorted out. The rest will fall into place. If you can have a leadership that is fixed on becoming an opposition in the Western Cape and not behave like as if we are in Mpumalanga, Free State, and everywhere else where we are in charge, that will change our fortunes there.
Yeah.
Because the DA is also not running a clean government there, and at the same time we are giving them just a free ride as the party, because we have not arisen and become effective in our status of the official opposition.
Yes, yes.
In the legislature and everywhere else. It's not an individual thing, it's an organizational question that we need to look at in terms of the party. And then secondly, we need to relate with the question of the caliber of leadership we want outside the ANC, but in the Western Cape, and also in the contestation of local municipalities.
Yes.
Because Western Cape will be totally different from normal provinces. You may need to look beyond your ANC constituency base for leadership in terms of the Western Cape. So there's a whole lot of things we need to look at about the Western Cape, but in conclusion, I can tell you that we have not given the DA the run for their money. We've just given them a full roll there.
Yeah.
And they just double their numbers every elections, and they wallop us, like nobody's business.
Yeah.
So we've got not even to change strategy. That is absent. We've got just to become first steps an effective opposition.
Let's come to the elephant in the room, actually, the economic hub province of the country, Gauteng. ANC has all sorts of problems, well, at least according to the electoral outcome in this province. But internally looking, first of all, maybe let me start it this way, because there's been a lot of talk about your relations with this current provincial executive committee. Maybe let's start there. How do you relate to the current PEC of the Gauteng province?
First, Mawande, let me tell you, people don't know my relations with many PECs in the country because I was supporting the elections work. Mm-hmm. We have not started driving our mandate of building structures such that they can come to conclusions about my view, feelings, and so on about the organization. I've not been to any province as the SG, visited provinces, look at the state of organization. I've not. And I'm undertaking that mission immediately after the 6-day NEC meeting. Then you will know what I think about Gauteng.
Yeah.
All what they think of, it's factional ideas, And we've dealt with ad hoc issues, municipal intervention, coalitions in Gauteng. We've dealt with those. And I've not handled matters in Gauteng outside the provincial executive committee. And, jumping structures and imposing solutions to the province without talking to structures on the ground. So, as the Secretary General, I've not done that. And any other thing, to be honest with you, it's a perception.
Yeah.
It's what people think will happen. I'm not a kind of person who likes to handle organizational matters from the office and through connections and WhatsApp groups. So I believe in engaging and going down and engaging with structures. And when I'm done with that work, I'll come to the NEC and report the state of organization of the ANC with solutions, what needs to happen. Now, our visit to provinces is going to be twofold. Analyze state of organization, but bring solutions, because we don't have time. Now, I will be able to tell the NEC and the officials and everybody at the end of this year what is the state of organization of the ANC. At the present moment, you can say, we are just,
Surface level.
yeah, surface level, not even dipstick, but desktop analysis of the state of organization. I don't know whether these comrades are doing the right thing in terms of their leadership in the province. There are already a lot of things that I've seen that are a problem for me.
Yeah.
Comrades run ANC through Zoom meetings. They run ANC by not engaging structures where there are challenges and talk to them and understand them. They run roughshod over structures, imposing disciplinary processes to short-circuit easy organizational solutions, demoralizing membership most of the time. ANC structures themselves on the ground not playing their part in terms of guiding and participating in local government, dealing only with one aspect at local government level, deployments. Who come next in the public service of the local government, and how best can we master the plan to remove a mayor or a councillor? On the ground. So all of those things must be curtailed, must be dealt with. So Gauteng economic hub, I don't even want to start by passing judgment. But I can tell you that overall, not only Gauteng, our state of organization must be improved. And we are going to improve it. I am not working with the collective and the team here at Luthuli House going to pass judgment and bring solutions from the cold offices of Luthuli House. It must be there on the ground.
Yes.
We must talk to everybody and engage everyone about the state of organization, and we must bring solutions on the ground.
And the talk about, there's talk within broader society and the ANC structures nationally about this province, which now has in some quarters been termed as a federal province, in that, for instance, in their coalition with the EFF and others at Johannesburg and Ekurhuleni, it's like when the ANC goes this way, they go that way. Do you feel the same?
No, they have just created that perception.
Yeah.
For instance, the DA issue, for them to sustain the perception that they were veering away from the national strategic framework on the issue of the GNU was unfortunate, because that was done in one press conference. The reality is different. We deadlocked with the DA on the issue of modalities of cabinet. And the reality is that the province have never defied national. Never. You know, and when I saw Panyaza wearing the t-shirt he was wearing, I asked the meaning of that. Even in philosophical terms, I didn't understand it properly.
Yeah.
What does he mean by that and all of that? Who is he directing that to? And then obviously we live in the world of lack of engagement. So I discussed with them, I discussed with Panyaza, he explained to me. And then I discussed with the leadership of the province, and I said, we shouldn't sustain perceptions through reckless communication, because we give an impression where there is none, that like Gauteng is defiant. Last week I deployed Makura and Phoebe to Gauteng in an extended PEC meeting. They came up back with absolute clarity and clarified comrades. But out there, there is this notion that Gauteng defied the national. There is no such. And even if they were to attempt that, it's not possible. There's no province that can defy a national. Even when I was here addressing the press conference, I was photoshopped with Panyaza as though he's saying something different, I'm saying something different. Sustaining divisions, inward looking in terms of the ANC. But also how we communicate, we need to take stock of that. The comrades of Gauteng are very young, and they all grew up in the youth league and in the ANC structures, and they are all energetic. They work very hard, they try their best. Even the 34-35% they got here, it's not a stroke of luck. I believe we could have done better in terms of the province, and so nothing lost among them. And I think there's energy there that must be unleashed in terms of the structures and focus the organization. So I can't give you the state of organization of Gauteng up until we get down to that business and we're able to dissect exactly what are we dealing with. Yes, organization is weak, but to what extent can it be salvaged on the ground? And what is the role of leadership in that? Is the leadership here in Gauteng and everywhere else in the country focused on the task of building organization? It takes me back to the question of the PCs.
Yes.
Not only for Gauteng, but generally in the country. Does the center hold? Are the PECs seized with the task of directing, leading, and championing the cause of the ANC in the different provinces? Or we just PECs that meet to mark a register? We meet monthly or bi-monthly, but at the end of the day, what impact? When I look at the impact of leadership, I look at Northwest. You know,
you're very impressed with this Northwest, eh?
Yes, I worked with them, and I know the challenges they are facing there. And when I came back there, I was clear that these comrades are doing something here. You know, are doing something here, but I'm not conclusive. They were doing something there that came to impress me, but then I saw it in the results. In terms of work, that's how you judge leadership.
Yes.
Yet there are so many piles and piles of complaints in my office from Northwest about that leadership, including some people who supported me in the structures, going to the national conference about this in local government. There's a lot of complaints. Even people march. I can tell you the volumes of people who march to Luthuli House are from Northwest.
Yes.
Yeah, there are many. They come here. It's very easy. There are many.
Yeah.
But the outcome and what I saw during the elections, even though conclusively I cannot say that this leadership is the best of the best, but what I saw when I went there, the focus, the science they were applying, working with the regions there on the ground, honestly, it did not just impress me. I saw a leadership that is faced with difficulties, but but doing their best to get out of a difficult disposition from a point of view of an organizational weaknesses. So, yeah.
Are you happy, SG, with what others call the instability of Johannesburg and Ekurhuleni, because the ANC does not have outright majority there? We just had MMC of Finance from the ANC, Jongazizwe Labati, installed there. There's a lot of talk about how the province was not involved, who was involved. There's a whole issue that in Joburg there's a move to go with the DA and install the regional chairperson, Dada Murero, as the new mayor. What's going on in terms of where you stand when you look into those very critical metro municipalities?
We're really worried about the stability in the municipalities and service delivery, because we saw that in the campaign, how it affected us. In the metros, especially in Gauteng. We have not arrived at any decision to change the current arrangement. Ekurhuleni was responding to a particular situation. They came even at national level and the officials to brief us about the approach. We agreed with them. There was a lot of instability there in terms of the province of the region of Ekurhuleni. Coalitions are generally a problem at local government level, not only for this province. They are generally a problem. So that's why when you go to our perspective on coalitions for local government, we make specific proposals there. And then we even talk about a grand coalition in terms of local government. What has happened with local government is that we don't have clearly defined models. It's just a get-together, gentlemen's agreement. Gentlemen and women's agreement,
Yeah.
if there's anything like that. That's what you've got there at local government.
Yes.
In these local government coalitions, there is no model we're following.
Yeah.
That's why you can have a party with 1% becoming the mayor, a party with 1% becoming the speaker. What model is that?
Maybe actually let's fast forward to GNU using that as a
Yes.
book.
So I'm saying just to conclude my point that
Yeah.
it's a recipe for disaster, because in a sense it does not guarantee stability. There are no defined principles among partners. Where can we go and how far between the two of us, or three of us, or five? What are we working towards? Who are we? We just came together. There is no intent between us. We're just working together. If I wake up tomorrow and decide that things must change here, and then I go and agree with other two parties, we've got the majority, things will change. How many mayors we've had in Joburg? I've lost count. In Port Elizabeth, I've lost count. You see, something seemed to be working in KZN in terms of eThekwini. So in Joburg, Ekurhuleni, it's Dr. Now from the ANC, well and good. He's our mayor. That's long overdue. He should have been mayor a long time ago, because we won there without outright majority, but we were told that take it or leave it. So we went through some agreement and package. So which in terms of scenarios, it's not clear what is it that we're dealing with. It's just a broad coalition of people who come together.
Yes.
And they don't even account to the people about what brings them together and what are they supposed to work for.
Mm.
So you will have challenges in that instance.
Yeah. Well, as we approach towards the conclusion of our conversation, maybe let's address the elephant in the room in terms of the current politics, the government of national unity. First, my question on that one. The strategic framework of the ANC on partnerships, coalitions, whatever you call them, it says among its principles, the party with the majority, even if it's not outright, in any aspect of government must govern. KZN, MK party as the majority but not in government. How do you explain that?
Zuma did not invite us in KZN to form government with him.
But you invited him.
Let me explain to you. Zuma,
Yeah.
JZ, former president, deputy president, former deputy SG,
Former
former national chair, the man who formed the party to rescue the ANC, he never invited us in KZN to form government with him, and such that we rejected. He invited NFP, he invited Tinkata and the EFF, and he jumped the ANC in that invitation.
But you also invited him.
We did not invite Zuma to anything. We engaged in exploratory discussions because we wanted to understand him. Because first, he wanted to challenge the outcome of the elections altogether. And then he did not recognize the outcome of the elections. He doesn't want our president. We wanted to understand the rescue plan. And then we were taken to a long philosophical discussion down the memory lane by his representatives, whom I think in the spirit of our discussions, I wish to respect those discussions, but just to characterize it as such. So we had a long discussion with them, which did not bear any result at the end of the day. So by the time we went to Parliament to elect President, MK party was not there. Zuma was outside. Till today, JZ has not come to us and told us what does he want. Since he has formed the party and is the boss of the party, he hires and fires. I wish I can have that leeway in the ANC, hire and fire without DC.
Yeah.
So the men hire and fire. So he has not called us. He has not. They work through connections of people and all of that. So up until me, after the national conference, I made contact with JZ. He never saw me till today. I even wrote a letter with him. I met him at Mangosuthu, Umdana Kapindangen, funeral. And then I made him aware, I've written a letter. He said he'll come back to me till today. And then I saw him forming a party, which we have opposed till today, and we're still opposing it, and because that is our trademark. So that is our situation with MK party. Now, for anyone to say whatever that they say, and then at the macro political level, there's not been an engagement with us as leadership of the ANC, except through declare. You see, it's difficult to deal with an intelligence operation in a political atmosphere where you don't talk to the master and the executive face to face, and then you are able to tell each other where to get off and why you can't find each other done. When I meet with the DA, I meet with Helen and the executive. When I meet with the IFP, I meet with Ubabuno, the general secretary of IFP. When I meet with PA, I meet with Gauteng and Kenny. So I know these are the bosses of political party. When I meet with UDM, I meet with Bantu and his people. General secretary is there of the UDM, clear. And then MK party, you meet with delegations. When you talk to the secretary today, you think he is the secretary, it differs to Baba.
Yeah.
So you don't know even in terms of your talks, ukuthi lo muntu une-mandate.
Yeah.
Noma akanayo. But we have been attacked there outside about everything else by people you don't know where their mandate starts, where does it end.
Yeah.
Because when they start to engage you outside the fold, they are risking being dismissed and being called agents of Ramaphosa's ANC. So that's what we're dealing with. And then we were never invited, Mawande, by the leading party, which I believe the ANC would have respected.
True.
In KZN, that, okay, now that you have invited us here, hear it from us. What do you want us to do? Tell us your plan. He didn't.
GNU on its own, it looks to be very difficult, and I think one of the evidences of that was the time with which it took to formulate the national executive, because of the back and forth, the horse trading, the different opinions and ideological leanings, and just views generally about what this GNU, which is the first concept of its kind in South Africa, is all about. And I understand now you are at a point where same has extended to the issue of administration, DGs, it has extended to the issue of diplomatics, which is ambassadors, where I am told that the DA is again playing hardball in that regard. How are you going to resolve that situation?
Correctly so, when you say GNU is uncharted waters, but we have been here before. So there's no difficulty to us. What is important for us is whether we are able to drive policy through this GNU and deliver for our people what we have promised them to deliver. What is important for us through this GNU is the sustenance of the National Democratic Revolution, which has actually suffered a setback. So to us, the GNU is a beachhead that allow us to continue with the social transformation NDR program of the African National Congress. It's not about who comes in, and when they come in, what then gives the flavor and the color of this GNU. The most important thing about it is that we work with everybody for national interest. It's not a melting pot. People may give us challenges there, and so on, is to be expected. So it's the nature of it. But everybody has committed that we want to work for stability. And that is it, but it's not going to change us and become ANC overnight, or ANC becoming another party overnight. It will be a miracle that the ANC can change and become something else with 6 million votes. Cannot be. And it is a recognition on other parties that we could not move forward unless the ANC have shown its maturity and accepting the result. If we did not show our maturity, we did not want to accept, we want to rule from the grave and all of that, we would have done things that are not done by a maturing democracy like ours.
What do you say about DA, the fierce opponents of cadre deployment, now said to be wanting their cadres as DG, their cadres as ambassadors?
I can't speak on behalf of the Democratic Alliance and what policy they practice and all of that. I can talk about the GNU in relation to what brings us in the GNU is a statement of intent, and that is what they've committed themselves to. To an extent that we miss each other in the interpretation of that statement is the nature of it. What we have come to be in executing what we all agree about, which is a government of national unity. So where we started is when we then said, what then, who comes in and all of that. We said as the ANC, everybody.
Yeah, but I'm saying, SG, the current headache of, you're tackling this question, the current headache of ambassadors and DGs
There is no
and CFOs, how are you going to address
there is no such on my table.
Yeah.
My understanding, even cadre policy in terms of how it is practiced, is that it's not about the macromanagement of government. Government exists and employs and hire people in the context of the PFMA, and that's what is important. And then the ruling party at that moment influences the outcome of that particular process. But it's not the final arbiter in relation to those particular matters. I can't tell the president who he must hire in the departments in terms of DGs, because that prerogative is with him. He must sort that out with his ministers.
In closing, SG,
So the second point you need to understand is that ambassadors are appointed by the president in consultation with the Minister of Foreign Affairs and vice versa. And then if a party would want, as a party, it has happened in the past. Tony Leon was an ambassador in Argentina. The other one, Datlas, I don't know where, and many others. There are many.
They are long before GNU.
Yeah, before GNU. That same procedure and understanding is going to unfold.
Yes.
Even at the present moment. So nothing that will actually change in relation to that. So we don't expect political parties to come with things like sealed mandate.
Yes.
And then operate outside constitutional arrangements of the country. The statement of intent in its foundational principle commit us to constitutional democracy and respect to the constitution and the rule of law. So it's not going to change now.
Yeah. SG, your coalition, sorry, your partners in the SACP are saying you sold out with this GNU arrangement. They say they tried to steer you towards friends of the revolution, according to the SACP GS. Sorry, Mabaila, how do you respond to that when your own people are saying you sold out?
No, I think there is a ideological conceptual paralysis there.
Yeah.
Because our allies is the Communist Party, COSATU.
Who are saying you sold out?
Our allies.
Yes.
I'm saying there is in that statement, there is ideological paralysis. Because our allies is Communist Party, COSATU, and SANCO. Those are our allies. Those are our friends. The DA, EFF, Mkondo Wesizwe, and others are not our friends. Neither are they close ideological to the ANC, unless it happened whilst I was sleeping. It does not. They are not. To an extent that in the models we have conceptualized post the election, once we have failed to reach a majority, that who wants to come closer to our perspective, it's another thing altogether. Because there are inherent weaknesses in relation to that conceptualization, that power is given to the conservatives and the liberals, and then instead of the progressive. Progressive, I accept, is a broad word, but at the end of the day, it has got progressive has got its foundation in terms of ideologically and otherwise who come close to you. So to us, anyone call themselves progressive, our progressive allies, ideologically, the people we work with, who are our allies, is the SACP, COSATU, and so on. The others are not. And it's a matter that we need to grapple with the party in the alliance political council, and so on. It's a question of political education and engagement in this regard, because again the word sellout is thrown loosely. I will ask a question to say, if somebody says you have sold out, where does it place you in relation to power? You know, I was at Nahau yesterday, and they sing the song and say, we don't want GNU. I say, very good, nice song. I agree with it. We don't want it. But how did we arrive there? We arrived there because we did not get outright majority. If not GNU, who? Then they answer it by saying you should have worked with black political parties and all of that. Who are those black political parties? Because we gave them a report. After engagement with those black political parties, where do they stand? We did not look for blackness. We looked for GNU to work with everybody and to form government, with the ANC being recognized as the biggest, largest expression of the will of the people of South Africa. All the partners have respected that. They've respected that by allowing us to elect our president, by allowing us to form government with the majority of ministers coming from the ANC. Then the second part you've got to address is policy. Have you departed now from who you are and what you stand for in the context of the GNU? Then if you have departed, then you'll be a sellout. Is GNU then permanent? No, it is not permanent. GNU is not permanent. GNU is a mechanism of addressing how we get out of the moment where in which power has actually eluded us.
Okay, as I prepare to get up, did you not do it the wrong way in terms of taking this decision of the GNU and then going to explain yourself to structures later? What happens if the structures actually revolt? Let's say, for instance, at a big occasion like the National General Council next year, where they will be the organization will be taking stock about many policy decisions and strategic moves it has taken since 2022. What happens when structures say, we never mandated you to this GNU?
Structures don't have to mandate us to form a GNU. It's a tactical intervention in a quagmire that is faced by the revolution and the ANC, where you have actually lost power.
A first of its kind.
A first of its kind.
Does it not call for a different way of doing things, to consult the structures first before making that decision?
The structures have given you a mandate to lead them in the context of the ANC constitution, which is the National Executive Committee. You don't consult, you engage them about the tactical moves you have actually taken. And then once they've gotten a full brief of the tactical moves you have actually taken, like now as I'm speaking to you, they've come to appreciate. We have spoken to all our structures in the provinces who are going to the regions to brief them. And we have been elected to lead, and we have taken advice even in the process of the negotiations. And we have given our comrades options and give them a proper briefing about what is actually happening. What we are not confining ourselves is this ideological clinging that we are being forced to, that everything that we do in the GNU shouldn't have involved a particular party, when we have invited all political parties to actually participate. And that is what we have done. And what is important for us is, how do we then secure power? So I was telling you about the song, and then the song says we need state power. But state power, you can have it and secure it only if you win outright. But you secure power with 40%. What then do you say about it?
So I have to say the ideological paralysis.
There is an ideological paralysis there to think that the ANC have got friends in this arrangement who are called this and that, when those are not our friends, they are not our allies. If ever it was a question of allies within the JNU, and then the measure of engagement would have been ideological, it would have been an easy task for us, because at the end of the day, none of those people there are having our ideological leaning in terms of serving the people of South Africa. And you can unpack them one by one.
Yes.
And for who we are and what we stand for. So we can go one by one with them, and then unpack them, who they are in our own understanding.
Yes. SG, finally, as I get up, I can see our comrades are saying time up, and you promised us part 2, which I think we must do just before the NGC next year, where we get really up close and personal with unlimited time. But as I prepare to get up from my seat, if the ANC structures in 2027 are to say, Mr. Fikile Mbalula, are you available to lead us as ANC president, what would you say?
You know, Mawande, let me explain this to you. We are a party now in government with 40%. The first thing you entertain from the likes of Mawande is you are driven to a discussion about leadership, and you respond to it.
Yes.
Positively and humorously, that no, on that day and this day I will be there and all of that. You start a debate when the party is 40% down.
Understood.
Where I will be at that moment is that as part of the collective, I think we would have appreciated this moment, I believe, and make our structures to appreciate this moment, a moment where the possibility of losing power is ever present, and that it is important to work for each other as a collective and support each other to ensure we consolidate unity of purpose of the ANC and the people of South Africa in particular. So for me, I mean, as the Secretary General, I would have failed in my task if I were to entertain such questions. I know structures are busy with suggestions, throwing names, and you are asking me that question deliberately because in the cocoons where people meet, Mbalula must contest. When Cyril leaves, Mashatile must succeed the heir, you know, because he's in the right position and all of that. I'm not for that, those discussions. I think what society is expecting from us now is that these ones, after 3 months, they will have forgotten where they come from. And then the opposition will be consolidating itself. They will be fighting each other about who must come in and all of that. That, to me, is the easiest discussion we're going to have and finish in no time. And it must be left to that moment when that time and its time has actually come. And at that moment, when you ask, I will tell you. And it is the easiest of them all. If today I were to tell you that this and that, the structures are going to say, but SG started the succession debate by saying so and so must lead. What gave him that license to do that? And when the organization is faced with such difficulties, the SG is the first to entertain a question from Mawande about who must lead going into the future. Whether it's him or another person, but politically it will be immature, it will be incorrect for the Secretary General in my position to entertain the question of succession of the president in 2027 when the conference of the ANC comes, which is about 3 years from now.
SG, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Watch. How much is this watch of yours?
This watch of mine is very expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, the person who bought me this watch passed away. Let me tell you, I never bought myself a watch in my life. On my birthday, the other one is still alive, is Mickey Kaya. He bought me a U-Blot. I still have it. A friend of mine called Mbenze, police. He passed away, may his soul rest in peace. He bought me this Rolex watch, and then on my birthday, and gave it to me.
Oh, so you didn't buy it for yourself?
No, I didn't buy it for myself. I wouldn't lie to you.
Yeah.
Say I buy it. I have a certificate of it.
Yeah.
And I know that every time I'm on campaign trail or somebody will just take it. So let me explain it to you where it comes from. Even the taxman, when he comes to me, he will know where this watch comes from.
Yes.
Everything is there. Policy died, he bought me this watch.
No,
Rolex.
I was just being noticed. You know, these days, apparently you are not a revolutionary if you wear Rolex and...
I know. That is why I was attacked about a G-Wagon that I don't own, which was given to me for security reasons in KZN and all of that. And you see me everywhere in the country, even when I'm not at work. You've never seen me with G-Wagon.
Yes.
But there it was given to me because I was executing a mission of campaigning in an area where my security has been brought under question, and I became Mr. G-Wagon. But that's it.
Yeah.
That's the life we live, and we must open ourselves to scrutiny, and you choose what you want to be in life. If you want to be a politician, you must live like that, and don't ask people, hey, why do you live like Mawande?
Yeah.
When you are supposed to be Mbalula.
Yeah.
You are the man of the people and all of that. It's not fake, but at the end of the day, you can't be this, that you are not supposed to.
Yes. No. Yeah. Thank you so much, SG. That is the engine of the African National Congress, Africa's oldest liberation movement, in this very cold Luturas. What's going on here, SG?
Yeah.
It's very cold. Thank you so much. This is Sunday World Engage. My name is Mawande Amashabalala. Join us next time. Ta-ra.